So today we're going to be talking about listening. There are several ways of listening, and with just each way, we can build our relationships for the better. Julian Treasure actually tells us that we spend 60% of our conversation times listening, but may only retain 25% of it. We rely on patterns to listen better, and we may also become very distracted from our everyday lives. There will always be ways to break the barriers of listening since the world is so noisy in more ways than one. It's, however, very important to remain on track and reset yourself if you find that your mind is becoming distracted. So there's dialogic listening, which is a type of listening where two or more people are sharing thoughts with one another. Their conversation will be for the purpose of sharing ideas and thoughts for the same drive and motivation. Those engaging in dialogic listening will feed off of each other's words to engage in a better shared experience. Just like the book's examples, we see this type of listening used in grouped projects. So the goal of a group is to support one idea and to present a knowledgeable project at the end. Those participating will listen to one another and feed off of each other's words. This type of listening is great when everyone is working towards the same goal and wants to accomplish something together. This type of listening may not be productive if everyone is not speaking up. If the members don't agree with the conversation, they should make sure to express that and don't just agree along for the sake of getting along. It's still important to be yourself. Okay, we have 3 weeks for this project. I think we could do well, but we should split up the work. I agree, we can easily take the different parts of this project and combine them afterwards. Great, I think we should write about Civil War. This was very historical and we could find a lot of information on it. Sounds like we're going to get an A. I'm happy we'll have a lot of resources for this project. This type of listening is great because we can stay tuned in with the other person so well. A healthy way to engage in this type of conversation is by using our hands. Touching the person appropriately or nodding to show you understand. This type of interaction may not be great for the outsiders. We are closing the doors to the other people we are avoiding and can hurt relationships around us if we are acting like clique people. Avoid blocking out others by noticing your settings. Healthy listening in the scenario is watching the moves of the person you are talking to. Are they looking down? Are they shifting their gaze a lot? Are others around you eyeing the conversation like they might want to put in some inputs? And then there's empathetic listening. This type of listening is considered to be when we put ourselves in the other person's shoes. We learn from the perspectives by preaching what they are saying. This is a very active way of listening because once we listen, we then interpret by doing our best to understand the other person's thoughts. I understand why our mayor is for more taxes, our roads are in terrible condition, and our schools need air conditioning. He's right, we can't fix these issues without money. Taxing the whole town is beneficial because we only need a little from each person to contribute to a better city. I'm glad you took the time to understand where the mayor is coming from. It seems like you really listened and understood what he had to say. This is a great way of listening because it helps us get closer to the person we are conversing with. A healthy way to engage in this type of conversation is by showing over emotions on our face, like frowning or nodding, showing that we understand by our expressions. And this type of conversation can be harmful because we may sympathize someone too much or catch their emotions, like become depressed because they act depressed, or even sympathize the wrong person, like a scam artist. Avoid over-empathizing by taking a step back and asking better questions in the conversation. And then there's analytic listening. This is the type of listening where we search for cues. We listen and we try to figure out what the speaker is trying to say, and we're trying to read between the lines. We may do this type of listening when we are unsure of someone's feelings on something, or if we're trying to figure out what someone really means when they are talking. I don't really know if she's telling me the truth. I look at her straight in the face and watch for slight movements that would show she's lying. I listened to every word she said to see if she would slip up where she was or where she's going, and I noticed she didn't use her hands a lot, which she usually does. Was she nervous because she was lying? That's just one example about being an analytic listener. And this can be a good listening skill if you are someone like a detective who may need to read between the lines, and it can be helpful if you're trying to understand the speaker's point of view. A healthy way to engage in this type of conversation is by talking and by taking a moment to think, or even taking the time to look at how the speaker is expressing their emotions by their face expressions or by their gestures. This type of listening can be harmful if we do overanalyze. Avoid doing this by taking a moment to stay silent, or just let the other person talk, or allow yourself to think for a moment when it's quiet. There are many listening barriers in our lives. We actually tend to live with many distractions, which can cause harm on our ability to listen to others in our relationships. One distraction is our phones. This physical distraction causes so much frustration. It's really easy for someone to get distracted by their phone going off and the juicy noise they may be receiving. And then another distraction a lot of us deal with may be heartbreak. This psychological issue may refrain us from listening or performing our best in a conversation. When we are sad and when we're frustrated, our minds go blank and we become too hyped up in every issue and block the ability to allow the engagement of conversation. We must allow ourselves to have effective listening where we are actively listening to the sounds and words someone is making. And another interesting barrier is being hearing impaired from external noises. For example, or if you're at a concert and you try to express your thoughts with your friends, you will find that it's very difficult to hear them or project yourself loud enough for them to hear you. And then a lot of times we pseudo-listen, where we fake listen because we'd rather do our own thing. Guilty. For example, we may be playing a game on our phone while listening to somebody. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yep. Our phones can be a physical distraction in our conversations. We may also have selective listening. Why listen to the whole conversation when you only need to get the important information? Because we may not actually interpret the right idea if we don't hear the whole message. That's just one way wrong information can spread. This can be caused by environmental distractions also, like a cute dog walking by while someone is talking. Oh, really? Yeah. Uh-huh. What? And then sometimes life can stress us out and work us too hard. It can be overbearing, which makes information overload a term for us. Life can become a psychological distraction that ruins our listening skills. For example, we may act like this when we are overloaded. Oh, yeah? Hmm. Oh, yep. When our brains gather too much information in a short period, it will almost be impossible to stay attentive to more. We also may ambush someone when they're talking because we're frustrated with them, or we may cut them off or naysay their comments because we don't want to listen to them. Or something I'm very guilty of rushing someone because we just don't have the time to hear everything. Are you one of those people that's impatient with people who ramble on during conversations or jump ahead or finish their thoughts for them? We may think it's just getting to the point, but we must remember that a point doesn't have a meaning without its story. So how do we stay distracted free? Treasure suggests to use the acronym RASA, meaning to receive, appreciate, summarize, ask. This is a great way, an easy way to remember to listen. If we can remember the suggestion, it can make for better conversations. Also, for a lot of us, just put your phones down. And if you're in a professional setting, put your phone on silent. Try to keep all your distractions away. So if you know you're a person who will try to write or draw or bite their pen in a conversation, keep your pen away from you. And just try to notice your distractions, acknowledge them, and actively avoid supporting your distractions. So we should just try not to multitask while working with others. And as Chapter 5 states, recent research shows that people are less likely to be able to multitask effectively and efficiently than previously thought. Also, remember it's important to keep your eyes on the one who's conversing. If we take the time to engage with the speaker, whether it is looking at them or understanding their emotions as they talk, we can understand their purpose better.